Give thanks always for everything to God the Father in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, submitting to one another out of reverence for Christ. It is Wednesday, the 21st day of December, 2022, and it's time for the reading of our devotional thought for today, coming from the book Truth for Life by pastor and author Alistair Begg. And if you are unfamiliar with Alistair Begg, he's the senior pastor of Parkside Church in Cleveland, Ohio, and the Bible teacher at Truth for Life, which is heard on the radio and online around the world. And we're really blessed and fortunate to have him right here on Lighthouse Christian Radio, FM 101.3 at 6 a.m. as well as 6 p.m. every Monday through Friday. Today's devotional thought is entitled, Submission and Humility. And the verses today, Ephesians chapter 5, verses 20 and 21, which reads, Give thanks always for everything to God the Father in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, submitting to one another out of reverence for Christ. That's Ephesians chapter 5, verses 20 and 21. Pastor Alistair Begg writes, When people take part in an orchestra, they lose something of their own individuality. A symphony is not a solo performance. Although the musicians do not lose their identities, they are nevertheless subsumed into the orchestra itself. The group is more significant as a whole than as an individual is on its own, and the collective produces something that no individual musician could create. Paul expresses a simple idea when he writes of submitting to one another. Though here, of course, the group is not an orchestra, but the church. While we may have a variety of responses to the concept of submission, we must acknowledge that the Bible uses it straightforwardly and frequently. For Paul, the unity and the health of the church depends on Christians understanding submission rightly and putting it into practice among one another. What does it look like to take the matter of believers' mutual submission seriously? In part, it means each of us realizing that we don't have the slightest reason to feel overly pleased with ourselves or superior to someone else. In other words, we demonstrate mutual submission by putting on humility. This is made difficult, of course, by our pride. A great challenge we all face, and one that is intensified by living in a culture that is constantly pressuring us to push ourselves to the front. Yet the church ought to stand out in and from that kind of environment. As God's people, we understand that we cannot even wake in the morning without His enabling. The fact of the matter is that we are entirely dependent on Him. Acts chapter 17, verses 24 and 25. The gospel is the key to true humility because the gospel reminds us that God has done for us in Jesus the thing that we need most, and the thing we are utterly unable to do for ourselves. Real humility is not self-deprivation. It is freedom from ourselves. It is the freedom to be ourselves and forget ourselves. It is the freedom that comes from knowing that we are not the center of the universe. When we keep such humility in sight, we will be prepared to submit to others, to bring all that you are and to use it to serve the greater good under the direction of others with the interest of others as your priority. Then your church can produce something beautiful, a gospel-displaying community. So do not wait for others in your church to be that kind of Christian. Today, humbly resolve that you will be that Christian. And that concludes the reading of our devotional thought for today, Submission and Humility, for this 21st day of December. And may the Lord richly bless you. Clive Walsher encouraging you to continue reading through the Word, and your assignment today, Nehemiah chapter 7, 8, and 9, and Luke chapter 20, verses 1 through 26. God bless.